But it comes down to us as leaders having great taste, real good intuition, really good storytelling, all those other things that AI cannot do. But unfortunately, I think it will mean that we'll just see a contraction in the job market. And so why it's so important, therefore, that we all lean into this and really understand how to make the most out of it in our day-to-day and that of our teams.
Yeah.
Hey, it's the Product Experience, and I'm Randy Silver. There's a lot of hype about AI and a lot of people talking about it. But Dave Killeen is the guy I go to when I want to know how I can actually practically use these products to make my job and my day easier. He sat down to talk with Lily about what he's using now and how it's changed his approach to product management.
Hi, Dave. Welcome to the Product Experience.
We're
at the Barbican, which is awesome, in this very nice little room. So before we get into our talk today, it'd be great if you could give our audience a quick intro to you and what you do in product and a little bit of origin story.
Yeah. So I fell into product management about 25 years ago by accident. And I was doing largely B2C. I started working in media. There were no startups back in London back in 1999. And then I was doing media for about maybe say 8-9 years. And then I went into a few smaller startups and landed in Badoo, the world's largest straight dating app, and had a whole ton of success with product there. We teamed up with Bumble. And then I went into lots of failed startups for a number of years, more heart than head, making decisions about, amazing charismatic founders, business model. And then my husband was like, get a proper job. You're never going to make any money on any of this, Dave, honestly. So I went into Elsevier for 5 years and a FTSE company, and I was there loving it, bringing kind of a startup way of working into larger corporates. And then from there, then left that into Onfido and then landed a product board, which was the best job I ever had by then, because you're building software for product geeks like me. And I'm a huge tool nerd. And so to build software for like 6,000 other product teams, you're not just building software for your end customers, but they're building software to help them and their end customers. So it's on a whole different level of joy. So I was running product design there about 1.5 years. And then we had a whole bunch of riffs. And then I left product board and was working out what to do next. And then I fell into this massive AI rabbit hole, which we'll discuss. And so then had a few months off and then joined Pendo. And so I'm now here and I'm what's called a field CPO. So the founders created this role essentially to have me as an authentic product geek to go out to market, talk to our customers, not go in as a salesperson and just wrap my arms around them and say, I'm here to support you. I'm not here to sell to you. I'll talk about Pendo, but I'll more talk about product craft. And so that's my bag of tricks, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. So representing us externally in the market, talking to our largest customers, prospects or existing, and then figuring out like what is happening in the market, and then telling our exec, okay, based on what I'm seeing, these are other use cases we should be standing up from a product strategy point of view, or these are companies we should acquire, etc. So it's great. I've been here for now 3 months. That's brilliant.
That's amazing, the field CPO role. I mean, it doesn't surprise me coming from Pendo because total like product culture, like customer focus, like.
It's amazing. It's a stroke of genius from the team, from Todd and the founders. And so really, like if you look at, say, cybersecurity companies, you get field CTO roles and their role is exactly as I described mine. So us being Pendo, like you say, it makes sense for us to have then a product leader in here, particularly in EMEA, to go out, like I say, to market, help Pendo get more established. And like I say, I work with our customers and put my arms around them in those conversations.
I love talking to people as well in your position where you get to speak to a lot of different businesses and organizations and understand what's going well and what's not going well. So we'll dig into that in a minute. Yeah. But so we're going to talk about AI and tooling. You said you're a total tool nerd. So it sounds like you're the perfect person to talk to about this. But tell me a little bit about how you, you said you went down a rabbit hole. Like, how did you approach all of your discovery around the different AI tools and learning what was possible and what was good and what was not good?
Oh my God. So I had about 3 months paid leave from product board when we left. We had loads of riffs at product board. So 3 months off there, and I thought, great, I'm just going to geek out on some AI and then land a job. The problem was the more I leaned into the AI, I was like, oh my God, this is possible. And you just go down this massive rabbit hole to the point where then search firms are coming to me going, I've got this role for a CPO or for a VP of product. And I'll be turning to them going, nope, the founder hasn't got a clue, and I'd be keep saying no and no to these roles that are coming along, and to the point where actually I wasn't finding a job.
Right.
And so then I ended up having 7 months off. And so I would literally spend all that time going to Agentic AI workflow tooling, following a whole bunch of people on Twitter on the edge of things. And just, every tool that came out, a peep of any new tool, I would just be in there every single day. My husband was like, Dave, get out of the house. No one's paying you. You haven't got a salary. I'm like, no. I'm just loving this. So it was good and it was bad. It was bad in the sense that it made that bar for where I go next hard to hit, but good because it actually gave me such an insight into where things are at. And that's why we're doing what we're doing, right? I'm now doing that storytelling for Pendo because I've had all that time to play with all those tools and hopefully help others not have to spend as much time so they can get to the heart of what's actually important.
Yeah, I was going to say, and also love that you still call it Twitter.
It doesn't feel right. I'm like, really? No. Yeah.
So slight sidetrack there. But yeah, I mean, it's great for everyone in the product community to have someone like yourself who will go down all the rabbit holes and come back out and just condense all of you're like our own sort of LLM.
I was saying to someone this morning, so I mean, I look at Twitter every day, and if a day goes by that I don't, and I've got about maybe say 20 people who are literally on the edge of everything, and if I don't look at it once a day, I just get slightly, and I'll disappear into like the toilet to go, like, for my husband, I'm just going to the bathroom, right? I'm just having a quick look to go, okay, fine, I'm up to speed now. I'm just unhealthily obsessed. And, but it's just amazing what we're seeing right now. And there's huge new things coming out right now. Manus is just landing just 4 days ago. No one knows about it. It's China's next DeepSeek moment. And it's phenomenal. We're going to hit AGI in a few weeks' time. We'll talk more about it. But so the pace is just accelerating. I'm so bullish on it, but I never thought we'd be at where we're at right now. I thought it was at least 7 or 8 months away.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I was going to ask you is like, how do we stay on top of all of this stuff? Like, how do we, and we're going to go into some of the detail of some of the tools that you've discovered and that you think are really valuable for people to play around with. But that's right now, and it's probably going to be different in 3 months' time, even. So how do you recommend we stay on top of everything?
I think follow me. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, really, it sounds...
I was hoping you were going to say that, actually.
This is what we're going to do. So we are going to create this page on Pendo where people can just be bored to death listening to me rant on whatever new tools out there. And so part of my job is to do that evangelism on everything that's happening within AI and how that applies to us as product geeks. And so I'll be doing a lot more of this content and banging that drum and showing people what tools to bring into their day-to-day.
Sounds great. Okay, so let's go into the detail. The first kind of area that you said we can really make an impact with AI tools is in saving time. So how much time do you think we're talking about saving?
Oh my God. I'm nervous saying it because I don't think people will believe me. But I am literally saving about a day a week at the moment. In the presentation I'm giving, there's a guy who's a great product leader. He's been on NTPCon before, Dave Washa, fantastic product leader and a very good friend of mine. And I've been using him as a way, if I can break down Dave and get him to do voice to text, we're about to talk about, then, and if he will do this, then anyone will do this. And so he's saying to me, he's got 3 days of output in 2 days of work.
Wow.
It's madness, honestly. And so it's not just using voice to text from the apps that I talk about, but also it's just, we end up basically getting this feedback from the LLMs, which just speeds up everything on another level. And I have never in my 25-year career had such pace and throughput as I've had in the last 3 months of Pendo. It's phenomenal. And so I'm just, as you can tell, I'm so passionate about it. I want to make sure everyone is doing this because Reid Hoffman said, like, if we do not stay on top of this, honestly, it's so important we lean into it. And I do feel that actually, I think the TAM, the size of the product management community, design community, engineering roles will shrink, right? Because a lot of the work that we do will be done by the AI. And so it becomes, we actually had one of our board members of Pendo present yesterday at the leadership forum, and she was saying herself, and she's to run product at Square, she's amazing. And she was saying, essentially, it all comes down to, we will conduct an awful lot more of the LLMs, but it comes down to us as leaders having great taste, real good intuition, really good storytelling, all those other things that AI cannot do. But unfortunately, I think it will mean that we'll just see a contraction in the job market. And so why it's so important, therefore, that we all lean into this and really understand how to make the most out of it in our day-to-day and that of our teams.
Yeah. Okay. So practically, what should we be doing and using?
Your voice. Our voice. That's the first thing, because the whole presentation is all about there's 3 steps to it. So you need to save some time because we do not. I have this concept of, you see in the presentation, this yellow sticky room where we're running around as execs and we haven't got stickies everywhere, right? We've got no idea what the hell's going on. We can barely have enough time to lift our head above the parapet. I mean, really what I've been doing at Pendo in the last 3 months is hosting these exec dinners. And around Europe, we had 200 execs, product leaders coming together over 5 cities. And they're all saying the same thing. Like, what do I do, right? And so I really think if you save the time, then you can invest that into leaning in to see where the puck is at and where it's going. So easiest way of doing that is using voice to text as an input model into your computer. And it's game changing, absolutely game changing. We talk more about it. And so if you think like the average person types at 50 words a minute, and if I'm very excited as an Irishman, I can talk like 180, maybe more, then the AI will take that from you. Good typists can only type at 75 words a minute, right? So it's very much a game changer in terms of the throughput you have then into your laptop.
And then you say into the laptop, are you talking about into any kind of tool that you need to write into?
Yeah. I use Claude, and it's very, very good. Because Claude, you've got a record button and you can throw your voice notes into Claude and then basically any old random order and then say, hey, Claude, this is the magic word trick. Like, so we're trying to acquire a company potentially at Pendo. And when I wanted to get this off the ground, this project off the ground, I just went into Claude and I said, hey, Claude, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of voice notes in any random order about this particular company and why we should maybe think about doing a dance with them. And, and I'm outside in the sun and, it's a beautiful day and I'm just random voice notes. I'm back again, Claude, with more notes and submitting. And then I'm like, okay, Claude, I'm done. Process all of that now into a 2-pager for the C-suite. And it does it, right? And that would take me days. I mean...
What's the magic word? Which bit is the magic word?
So in my prompt, I'll say, I'm about to rant at you in no particular order, and you're going to receive all these voice notes. And when you get them all from me, when I say process, then you're going to do your thing, right? Then you're going to lean in and do the workload. And so, that's the magic word trick, right? And so you can go back to your question. You can be inputting into Claude. You can use SuperWhisper.com. It's coming out with a Windows app quite soon, actually, and use that then to get content in, right? And what's great about SuperWhisper is I can have an email mode, and I have a prompt for my email mode. So take Dave's gobbledygook Irish rants, remove all the ums and the ahs, and then basically put it into an exec-friendly form, right? And so, if you go from 50 words a minute to 180 words a minute, given we type at a keyboard for 12 hours a week, back to your earlier question, that's nearly 9 hours of saved time every week. Now, it won't be exactly that because you don't want to use voice for everything. Yeah. But you can at least save half a day.
Interesting. I mean, I actually don't write that many emails. So can you use it with Slack or something?
God, yeah. Okay. I've got a Slack prompt that says basically whatever Dave's saying, just get the most suitable emoji. Right? Yeah. I was saying in my presentation, people think all Dave's doing is finding emojis. So I'm really, has he got that much time in his hands? But, so it can be anything, like my weekly planning notes. I'm just like, here's my week. Here's what a good week looks like. Blah, 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 and then boom, I've got my objectives. I've got my tasks. It's all written in a way which is actually visually tangible. I'm fired up by just even looking at how it's free-framed my week ahead. Do you know what I mean? And then you've got that as a log. And there's so many use cases. But with SuperWhisper, whatever that input, that job to be done is, you have that prompt. And then away you go. It's bonkers.
That does sound really great. And do you find when you're talking into these tools that you talk in a different way?
I do. Because I actually think I treat them like, I even say thank you. I mean, people are like, what are you doing? But I don't know. I said to somebody the other day, it's a bit like playing the piano. Any instrument, like when you get to a point where, it just feels natural, like my default mode on every task, when I've got a 90-minute block of deep work to do, I spend 5 minutes thinking, okay, how am I going to use the AI here? It's just default. Right. And I think when you start leaning in and spending more time doing this, like my husband has a clue how to be using it. He's lightly now touching it. He watched my presentation at ProductCon. He's like, he watched it live. He's never done anything like that. He's never shown an interest in my work. He's starting now to do it, but he will get to a point where it's like where your keys and your fingers intuitively need to go on the keyboard, and then exactly, it's Claude for this, it's this for that, and everything then comes more naturally to you. But how I talk to it, I literally treat it like a friend. It's a bit weird because that's the relationship I have with it, right? Yeah, it's weird.
I have a coaching prompt that I use sometimes, which is great, and always at the end I'm like, thanks very much, that was really helpful.
It's just a nice thing to do. I mean, even the fact you said that to me, I can just hear it in my arms. It's lovely. It's great. Brilliant.
So is there any sort of thinking about, talking into your phone and all of these different tools like Claude and SuperWhisper.com, is there anything that you're doing to just validate that your data is protected?
Yeah, I make sure that, we have to make sure where we work that You're not giving anything too sensitive away, obviously no PII data, that kind of thing. But generally, look, it's just a stream of consciousness. And I think that's why the magic trick, the piece with Claude works really well, because some people have come back to me since, actually, and a really good back and forth as a great product leader. And they're like, Dave, like, I can't do what you're doing, but I'm an introvert. And is that the reason that I can't do it? Because I just find it awkward talking. And I was thinking about this and going, we dug a bit deeper, and it's like, well, I craft a lot of my thinking as I'm typing, and I just don't think this works for me. And I was like, well, maybe it's just the fact that maybe it's not SuperWhisper you should be using, maybe it's Claude, because then you have these like in just very discrete thoughts that can be spaced over time. You can come back to it the next day, right? You create a project in Claude, and that's your holding pen for your thinking about a particular project you're working on. And so, and I was saying, if you do that, then you should be able to do it. So I think it's
that reminds me of when back in the day when everyone was like, you know, being, well, to be honest, it probably still happens now, but I don't ever see it happen because we're hybrid working. But you know, where developers would have like a little figure or something on their desk, and then they would have a little conversation with that figure or whatever, in order to kind of talk through a problem. Because actually, you know, talking through a problem to yourself, like, or just like, it's that thing of just being able to say it out loud. But I feel like having a person or a something that you're having this conversation with could be helpful for some people who struggle to just talk to themselves. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's very therapeutic, and I definitely think it's a great way to articulate your thinking. And yeah, it definitely suits me to a T. Yeah.
Hey, Lily, you're the CPO for a product that's just in English. What's holding you back from going multilingual?
Well, in short, it's expensive and hard, and we just don't have the team to manage it.
Okay, so this is where I love AI. Today's podcast sponsors TransFX, that's TransSifex, have used AI to solve this problem and help organizations scale and grow into more markets. They help teams build and automate the localization process in a way that just works. And it can sync with tools like Figma and Jira, saving a lot of time for designers, developers, and marketers.
I see that their API would let us upload content, translate, and publish seamlessly, so multilingual updates roll out with every release. Their AI-powered translations keep everything sounding native, not robotic, and you can create and manage your own custom glossary, keeping everything on brand.
It's how you cut time to market, stay ahead of competitors, and delight users worldwide. You can try TransFX free for 15 days. Just head to transifex.com, that's TransSifex.com, and make global growth simpler than ever. So just thinking about another aspect that you talked about. So it was saving time, which is, you know, really using your voice a lot more, and then protecting time you talked about as well. So tell me a little bit about what you found in this area.
Yeah, look, I think the problem is, you know, you've got all these meetings and your day, you've got these gaps here and there randomly. And then, I don't know, I just sometimes find myself like going, okay, I've got this task, I'll do it. And then before you know it, you've got your next meeting. And then the time just expands, right? And Neri Al has this lovely book called Indistractable. And he wrote the book called Hooked, which is about habit forming products a few years back. It was brilliant. And so he was on Lenny's podcast, and he talks about this importance of making sure you guard your calendar, and guarding your calendar is like guarding your, you know, your potential. And so diarising not just your meetings, but actually your work is really important. So what I try and do, and I've been trying it for years, is I always make sure I go through my to-do list and I just copy stuff across and put it into my, but it's very hard to do it. There's a lot of friction in the process, and some days I don't do it. The days I do it, I know that I'm having a better day and all that gubbins. And then Sunsama came along. And like, again, I've been literally kicking the tires on every bloody tool that's out there for this particular use case. Like, how do you bring your meetings and your work together, right? And it's brilliant, right? It connects to your linear, your Todoist, your every bit of context, like every application you need. And then you just slot things in and you give them budgets of time. And that's the best bit, right? Because you're going, hold on a second, how long should this really take? Okay, it's 5 minutes. And then you can manage your energy levels. So you've got big 90-minute time blocks because you only kind of get energy, get work done in 90 minutes, and then you get tired. And so you pick, well, what can I get done in 90 minutes? And then give me a few like 5-minute blocks just to get the endorphins back up again. And then, you know, because you're getting stuff done. And then give me another 90-minute block. Give me a lunch block. And so your whole day becomes accountable. And then Sunsama has this little ticker on your screen going, you have 3 minutes left for this task. Hurry up. And you're playing against it for the whole day. just related to that, actually, which is quite a cool thing. I didn't put it into my presentation. I nearly did, because there's a Spotify playlist and it's called Battlefield. And it's from gaming music. And I never knew this. I never would play computer games. But I heard this trick from someone there. If you play something like Battlefield, gaming music's designed to get you all fired up, right? So, and I wanted to play it in the Barbican on the main stage and just go, and there's some really, that's how it kind of comes on, right? And I thought this would really waking them up if they're half asleep, but there wasn't enough time to put it all in. But I would just, for people listening, gaming music, play that when you're on Sunsama, and your day, you are just flying through it. It's just really good.
I mean, I have to say, I think it's Terraria music quite often comes up on my thing because my kids listen to it. And it's actually really great, like productivity music. I agree.
Yeah.
And one other area that you kind of covered in your talk was like how you amplify your impact with AI. And you talked a little bit about the magic word trick, which sounds amazing. But tell us a little bit more about kind of what you found in this area.
Yeah, I think the first two chapters in the presentation are so important. It's about you haven't saved the time and you're not protecting your time. You've got no time for that third bit, which is amplifying your impact, right? And so this really is kind of like a distillation of all the tricks and shenanigans I found over those odd months of playing with everything and failing with a lot, right? And so the first one is this idea of burger prompts. And it was like, on the visual, it was like you've got a slice of bread, which is like a plain, boring prompt. But actually, you really need to give it as much of instruction as you can. It can take a while to kind of craft that kind of thing. So there are apps like there's GPTs that help you write prompts, but actually Anthropic, that own Claude, have come up with this tool in the developer console that lets you generate a prompt. And it does it brilliantly compared to everything else. And so I would literally say, hey, review this product strategy document, and it gives you War and Peace of a prompt. And so your output from then your LLMs is on another level. And so it's one of the most high leverage activities you can do when you're doing the dance with your LLMs. Because if you just pop into Anthropic, you have to buy some credits, like $5 will get you like maybe say 6 months worth. So it's worth doing. It's not free. And there are other ways to generate like prompts, but this is by far the best one. And so, yeah, we did a demo of that, and the reaction from people when we did this presentation a few weeks ago was phenomenal. They just loved it. And lots of people now are doing it by default. I've shown it to my team internally. They now put these prompts into Perplexity, and the amount of research they're getting back, it's quite the game changer. It's one of the highest leverage activities after using your voice for input.
Nice. Okay, cool. Anything else on that area, or?
On the prompting, no. I mean, there's maybe another one we did talk about, which is a thing called Chorus.
Oh, yeah.
Chorus.sh. It's Mac only, unfortunately. Y Combinator back company. And what they've done is taken it on a completely different level, where cause people say to me, oh, should I use OpenAI, ChatGPT? Should I use Claude? Should I use Gemini? They all do things differently. And what's interesting about Chorus, as the name suggests, is basically allows you to have this like matrix-like environment where you spin up all the LLMs. So you give it one prompt using Claude, give it a great prompt, and then they all start going to town. Like you've got literally about 15 different vertical columns, and they're all just rabbiting on with the response. And then the best bit then is like you can actually synthesize multiple parts of what they give you back. It's really, really good. And so you get to send some, you start getting them to work together and collaborate together, so you then have an even better response from the LLMs. And so I think when you've got something like Anthropic and then Chorus, you get far, far better output from your chats back and forth.
Yeah, wow, that does sound amazing.
It's really cool.
And one of the things I always kind of think about when I'm using ChatGPT, I'm definitely more on the basic level of AI use, but I feel like you're going to up my game after this conversation. So it's working. But one of the things I always find is like, with each kind of conversation, you're generating context for the LLM, but that context gets lost. But I understand that there's Claude projects, which enables you to kind of keep that context and build on it.
Yeah, and Claude, OpenAI, ChatGPT has now project folders as well. Gemini now has them too. But the concept is basically exactly as you said, right? Give it the context, so it's got that specific context to your project, and then it can use the rest of the interweb as such. And so the demo that we gave was actually as product geeks and just generally as people, like we don't really invest in our own personal roadmap. And so what I've got now is I've got a project in Claude where it has my insights profile, which is like all my kind of where I spike, where I've got all these blind spots. And we all get that here at Pendo, right? So we all basically told like, here's our strengths and weaknesses, right? It's got that, it's got the career ladder. So it knows format where I'm at in the org, this is what I should be doing. If I want that promotion, this is what I need to show. And so I then have 15 minutes every Friday in my diary, go into Claude, hello Claude, and I have a chat with them about, here's my rant for the week, and this went wrong. And then Claude goes, Dave, look, actually one of your blind spots is your bar is too high. Stop being so negative on this particular issue. It's not an issue. He even talks to me like this, right? And so I then have that check-in once a week. And then when I'm preparing for my annual review or whatever I might be doing, or looking back at my month or my 3 months or looking ahead, I just go back into that project space, and it's got all that context, like you say, and I can have it to summarize it. What actually did I get done this month? These last 3 months. Where should I be going next? How far away am I from that promotion? Am I showing those qualities that are expected? It's phenomenal. And so we got loads of different project spaces now set up for different jobs to be done, where it has that local context for the project, and that's there for you, right? And so whenever you're going to work and you want to take out your Claude again, have the chat with the project, drop a few notes in, collects all of that, marries it with the context. Magical.
It's amazing, isn't it? It definitely feels like there's very soon going to be no excuse for, just riding the waves and not really paying attention to your making excuses that you've got a bad boss, and it's like, you don't need your boss because you've got all of these tools at your fingertips.
And that kind of feedback, that accountability is priceless.
Yeah.
And particularly in this world we're at right now, job market is not great. We are now seeing what's happening with AI. We have to make sure that as individuals, we're very much on the edge. And we are on the edge, but you know what I'm saying. And we have to be showing that we're making that progress, but also for our own storytelling in a way, sometimes, in product, we're all so busy, we quite nearly forget, what was it we all got done last quarter? We've got a board meeting coming up soon. The CPO wants to get what have we done?
Yeah.
And so, if you have a shared project space where you're all kind of sharing that stuff in there, it's just fantastic.
And one of the other things you talked about was Agentic AI. So tell us a little bit about what that term means and why it's just another level.
Yeah. So this is people think, oh my God, agents and agentic, and how do I even get into this? And so the demo here was, or what it is basically where you have all these different content sources and you give that then into the AI, and the AI can mash that together with other content sources. You can pull, you can push out. And the whole concept of the presentation was we need to make time to look in the fridge, right? So and this was the best bit of the presentation, and I think it resonated a ton, is that, you get home after a long day and you don't know what you can cook for dinner because you need to open up the fridge door, and we don't know what to do with AI because we haven't got time. Back to the yellow sticky room, we're too busy. And so I wanted to go on stage and show them Gumloop and .com, which is just this is the fridge, right? And you go into Gumloop and you have this Miro-like canvas, but all these nodes, right? Read a Google Sheet, do a scrape of my competitors' help pages and the release notes, feed that into the AI, have the AI which knows our jobs to be done in our product, and then it can basically listen whenever there's a heartbeat on any of our competitors, and then you connect your Slack, and so that PM in Slack gets a nudge to go, oh, they just launched this, or you can set the AI up to go, hey, actually, I want you to scrape everyone's help pages and release notes every month against these jobs to be done, and I want to go to my CFO and my board and my C-suite, and I want to say, oh my God, this is where our competitors are investing into these jobs to be done. We don't play here. They're getting traction here. I need more funding. Do you know, all of that, it's just so good. So we did a demo there. What I'm doing now is I'm bringing AI into our product, or our revenue org, I should say, and to make them more efficient when it comes to doing market research and who we should be reaching out to. And we have now developed this AI agent that listens to all of this and basically takes a simple form, who are we reaching out to, what customer? Okay, great, that's the domain name. Marry that with a long Perplexity search query that I have. Mash that together, dump that into Perplexity's API. Perplexity comes out with War and Peace. Feed that into Claude. Then from Claude, hey, look at all my ICP documentation. Look at my use cases. Look at all the customer case studies that we have with all the hard metrics that Pendo's landed with the biggest customers in the world. My Lord, right? And then boom, 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 show me a Venn diagram of how we're going to brilliantly overlap with that company and their pain points. Look at the 10K filing reports. Unbelievable. It would take hours and hours and hours of research. And so it's not to replace the work that we do, but it's more to kind of show, here's the bulk of it. Here's the 80%. And then this piece of taste and finesse, that's then for the humans to put on top to make everything pop. It's phenomenal.
So where do you see this going? Like, what's next? I mean, it's phenomenal already. You said there's a company coming out of China that you're just blown away by again.
Again.
Yeah. Well, where do you see this going?
Where do I see this going? If only we knew, right? And I think what we do know, right, is we know everything's going to become so cheap. And it's really interesting. There's one coming out of China now. We're about to have our next DeepSeek moment from China called Manus, M-A-N-U-S, Manus AI. And Manus, people will see it's come out a few days ago, and not everyone has access to it just yet, but essentially it's an agentic AI agent with his own browser. And so in the UI, you have a browser and you can start doing things with it, right? Do my homework for me and like start book me a holiday and give me the options, and kind of what OpenAI AI operator has. But, it's cheap. Like, it's a fraction of the cost. I don't need to spend $200 a month to access to it. And so China is really, I think one thing we do know is China is absolutely going to reduce the cost of everything and mess up the frontier models in the West and their pricing and their business models. It's already accelerating the pace of OpenAI to keep on top. I think their roadmap and what they've been doing would come out at a far slower clip had it not been the pressure of DeepSeek this year. So because of that, now everything is just hurrying the hell up. I think that's great, but also the bad thing is like, what's that all mean for us? Like, what's that mean for society? If bad actors get their hands on these models, which they now can do because they're all open source and they're hugely powerful, to what extent now can you start running something like Manus to penetrate systems? And so it's obviously good and bad, but it just speaks to the importance of us all staying on top of things and leaning in and showing curiosity. I did whether I should say this on this podcast or not. I might kind of, get a few enemies, but I genuinely believe it, so I want to share this, is if I interviewed a candidate maybe today for a role and I said, hey, how are you using AI? And if they said to me, I'm using ChatGPT, but actually we've moved on to Claude now. Isn't that great? And I was like, is that what you're doing? Yeah. That's what we're using projects as well. And I would be like, no, I'm not hiring you, And so, and I think that's probably me being very picky at this stage, but I absolutely believe in 6 months' time, that will not be a good answer. And so my whole message here, everyone needs to lean in, open up the fridge door, have a play, and find time to invest in your own personal roadmap.
Yeah.
It's so important.
I think we all need to hear that.
Big time.
I definitely need to hear that.
Big time. It's fun,
I'm sorry,
right?
Dave, I'll do better.
It's fun. Like, I literally, I'm such a bore. My husband's like, Jesus, Dave, really? You can, I've got this thing where I now go to the office of Pendo because we've, and now I can batch cook. So I batch cook on a Sunday. I literally go into Claude. I'm back. And I go, right, we got 90 minutes, Claude, right? And I want to batch cook for the week. And by Friday, the ingredients we're going to use, Claude, I want them fresh as daisies, right? So we're only going to cook what's going to last the week, right? And that's one thing. The next thing is I'm like, oh yeah, and by the way, if I'm going to do a dish for the Tuesday that has onions and also Monday or whatever other day, we're going to do them all the chopping at the same time. So give me a recipe of the recipes, right?
Right.
And by the way, here's my blood count. Honestly, and I want to lean in and have more fiber. And by the way, picture. I love Vietnamese. I love that particular dish, that flavor profile. Let's get cooking. And, it's just the joy, right? It's brilliant. And I think we all need to lean in and find how we can have fun with all of this. But yeah, all of this, though, really doesn't replace the need for making sure that everything we do and all this storytelling, all this output, you still need customer-centric evidence and data in this storytelling that you're doing, right? And that's where something like Pendo obviously kicks in, because I find really that without that as leaders, no one believes what we're doing, right? AI everywhere, AI, great use of tooling, but you need the evidence in your storytelling to drive the alignment across your org. Without that, everyone has opinions, right? And so, yeah, it's good. AI, Pendo, those two things together, it's really, really good.
So what I'm also really curious about as well, and obviously, like you say, we can't really see into the future. We can only guess what's going to happen. But, whereas now to a degree, but it's changing, people always went to Google or search engines for their answers to things.
Yeah.
That's really changing. So, you can imagine advertising coming into these tools at some point in order to kind of pay their way. Is that something that you've kind of thought about or anything?
I don't really think advertising so much, but I do think, paying for output, paying for the job to be done, but usage-based pricing or kind of outcome-based pricing, I think that's probably where it's definitely going to go. And yeah, advertising, I can't see too much of that really kind of landing very well. And also, I mean, I think it's really interesting. Perplexity, you mentioned Google. I mean, I don't use Google anymore. And again, if I was interviewing someone like they're in Google, I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Really? And so Perplexity is brilliant because actually, it's interesting there. Like, we can buy a Pendo now, and I'm trying to push for this, like an enterprise version of Perplexity, because it has OpenAI's models in there. It has DeepSeek from China hosted in the US on there. It has live access to the internet, and it has project folders, and so all those models that are open source are now being pulled into other products. They're bringing them into their products, charging for access, and putting a bit of a piece on top in terms of a margin for costing and so on. And so it's really, really interesting. But it becomes hard. A guy who runs AI here at Pendo, Pierce, he's fantastic, and we acquired his company Zelta to bring actually AI powered insights into all the feedback you get from your customers. It's fantastic what we're doing there. And he wrote a great post about there. It's going, unfortunately, what it means at the moment, it becomes really hard to know, like, you have to have that agility in your stack now. You can't just go, okay, it's Perplexity for the year, that's it, we're gonna lock in, right? You really, like, it's dangerous, because things are moving around so quickly. Which becomes really hard then in your storytelling as an AI geek like me, when I'm like 1 minute going, okay, we're gonna get an enterprise version of OpenAI, right? It's just what we're gonna do. And then, no, I know I said that a few weeks ago, but it becomes really hard because things are moving so quickly. Another area I think we're seeing now, I mentioned Manus earlier, but there's another thing called MCP. And that's, I think, a model context protocol. And so it's like HTTP for AI agents. And so what HTTP did for and REST did for web, we're now seeing MCP come out from Anthropic recently. It's getting a lot of wind behind its sail. And what that means for us as product geeks, it fundamentally changes how we think about building our moats in our products.
Right.
And it's fantastic. So you basically end up having the AI agents having this great effective way, this bridge to connect with each other and pull data in from what they have got access to. And because the problem they're solving for is right now is most AI agents only know what they know themselves and we've given it to it. Whereas now I can have, our Pendo AI talk to a Salesforce AI over here using MCP. So I think I would definitely say people should lean. It wasn't in my presentation. I'm going to be doing a presentation on it soon. But MCP, every product geek should lean into that because that's the next big wave coming our way in terms of what that means for our product strategies.
And is there, like, if you wanted to do some research on that, is there a particular sort of...
Yeah, so I went in, like, look, everyone in ChatGPT, like, you've got access to a limited amount of, deep research queries. And so I go in and every time I see something about to kind of take off, I'm like, okay, so as a PM, my query is, as a PM, why should I be interested in MCP? And then you get like 10 pages, right? Or as a PM working for Pendo, how can I bring MCP into our organization and build a defensive moat, strategically? And so people just need to prompt those kind of prompts and just, do that. And that helps them in the storytelling, right? When they go, okay, fine, I now get it. Help me like scare my entire org about MCP. Hey, write me a Slack post about it, right? Just don't have to do all that heavy lifting, right?
Yeah.
And just direct them. And I think this whole idea of what the Shopify CEO said, that he now spends more time talking to his LLMs than he does his staff.
So I was literally just about to ask you this, because do you feel like with all of this problem solving with, your LLMs, do you feel like we're kind of going to get into a point where it's like, oh, we need to properly make time for human connection and for and also, have moments in your life where you're just like, no, I mean, we all already do digital detoxes, mainly from social media, but I feel like it'll be a digital detox from AI as well.
I think it's really important. I mean, everything's always been important, that, right? No matter, AI, no AI, really important. But I think also the fact that, and I really do believe this, for me personally at least, the fact that we are now having such a more enjoyment from our jobs because of the help that we get, because of the pace that we can achieve. I just feel, for me, I'm accelerating at a far quicker clip now than I could ever do before, right? And I feel like I've been at Pendo a year, right? And I've only been 3 months. And so I think that joy you get from that fuels you to maybe not worry so much about you falling behind, right? And so therefore you're less stressed. And therefore you have more time to go, do you know what? I am going to go home at 6 o'clock, heaven forbid. Because you have had such a good day in the office. And so I think, yes, absolutely 100%. But the AI can actually make you feel less guilty, I think, in a way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I also think, sorry, just one more thing on this. So I'm a parent, I've got 3 kids. like I feel like that I have a duty because they can't learn all of this stuff at school because the teachers, I don't know if they have access to all of this information. So I'm like, I need to do some of this learning and impart that. Although actually they probably know way more than I do.
Totally. But actually, this lovely leader I know, she's Faith Foster's asked me to come and give this presentation actually to Centrepoint. And
nice.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
And, because the advantages that gives to people, to young people. And again, it comes back to this analogy of the fridge door. Mm-hmm. I just, I want to share this whole analogy with as many people as that can listen to it, because I just think once you understand what's possible, no matter your background, you can start building these things. And that is a joy. It's joy, right? There's no friction, there's no obstacles in your way. It opens up, so many opportunities for people to show their real creativity and the storytelling and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, it's not without its challenges, right? Everything's changing so quickly for our younger generation that it's really difficult. It's very difficult being a parent, right? But at the same time, there's just so much excitement here as well. I mean, the fact that I can go in now to the AI and tell it, like, come up with a 3-week program to teach me about blah, 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 mm-hmm. And then I can use OpenAI's tasks, tool to create a content learning program for me. And it's just, it's magical.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for doing all of this research for us and sharing all of your enthusiasm for AI and your energy for it, which is great. It's been a pleasure.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you. My first podcast. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
The Product Experience hosts are me, Lily Smith, host by night and Chief Product Officer by day.
And me, Randy Silver, also host by night. And I spend my days working with product and leadership teams, helping their teams to do amazing work.
Luran Pratt is our producer, and Luke Smith is our editor.
And our theme music is from product community legend Arnie Kittler's band, POW. Thanks to them for letting us use their track.